on ground? What are your expectations, first as a Nigerian and an election observer who has keen interest in these processes?
Yeah, well, you know, a fortnight ago when I came here, I was so optimistic that the elections will actually hold, regardless of the nature of threats, you know. And the electoral umpire, INEC, we had that Professor Mohamed Yakubu made it clearly that INEC was fully prepared for the elections. And they have been actually so, you know, strong in terms of the level of preparation as well as deployment of INEC officials as well as the National Service Corps, you know, and other stakeholders in the elections who are expected to participate in the conduct of the elections. So I expected the elections to hold, but I also expected the low voter turnout. Why? Because Anambra State has this particular history of low voter turnout.
All right, so we'll come to you very shortly. Maybe what we'll get next will also help us situate this discussion. Let's join our correspondent Umar Abasi in Atari Rogbani very quickly to give us a situation report. Can you hear me? Go ahead, please.
Okay, here is a CKC order polling unit in Abuja South local government area. As you can see, voting has commenced in earnest and the turnout is impressive.
In terms of
security, these security agents are on ground to ensure that the exercise is streamlined.
Okay, talk to us a bit about the process there. The machines are working, and what are the reactions you have garnered so far from the electorate? Go ahead. It seems Blessing is having a few challenges there. We will still get back to it, but at least she's made you know, a point. I beg your pardon. Omar Abbas is now standing by. That was Blessing Aya, who perhaps maybe because I didn't call her name, she didn't respond. So let's go to Omar Abbas now very quickly for our own update.
Thank you, studio. We are here precisely at Atani community, and where you have a central local government area of Anambra State. Okay, that's just one of the communication is came in because the materials are not deployed as early as the officials.
Say you're backing the song, and you should do it the other way around. But it's for them to get the electorate.
Shortly after accreditation,
Against the line.
in this polling unit,
So what we do
To get their you know, cards read and get the process underway. They are drowning your voice a bit, but by the time you get set again, let us know so that we can go to you. You know, thank you for how you've been going around and giving us updates from different locations in your area. You know, Sheriff Gali Ibrahim, Associate Professor, International Relations, University of Abuja, is here. We were just sharing, you know, your expectations, and I'm sure you were watching a bit before you came into the studio. So far, for you, so good?
Yeah, for me, so good, because I have not been expecting results beyond what I'm seeing. Why? Because looking at Anambra, you know, historically, it is a kind of macrocosm of Nigeria in terms of people participation, you know, in exercising their franchise. Why? Because Nigeria in recent years is the highest in terms of voter turnout, in Africa, just surpassed by Zimbabwe, which is Rhodesia recently in their, I think, 1996 elections. This actually signs.
You meant 2006?
Yeah, 2006. Sorry, 2006. So these are issues that have been actually engendered, as a result of so many factors. And these particular factors may include the issue of governance. If people do not actually feel, the impact of governance in them, will actually decide to go into that. Then secondly, you also have the issue of age. The number of people who are expected to come to the polling unit and cast their vote. What is which age bracket do they belong to? Are they actually within the voting age or not? So you now look at the issue of population of that particular entity. If you look at Egypt and Scandinavia, to be specific, you go to Sweden, for example. Sweden has a very few population, but in terms of governance, you discover that more people get registered for elections. But when you come back to Egypt, you discover that there is disparity. There is gap between the voting age, of the Egyptians, as well as the number of registered voters. Why is it so? The issue of governance, the issue of resentment, the issue of political utility, all these particular issues juxtaposed together to produce such political resentment and even apathy. So if you come down to Africa, as I earlier pointed out, that Anambra is a kind of a macrocosm of Nigeria in Africa. You experience low voter turnout in Anambra, even in the previous elections. Why is it so? The issue of the insecurity, which is being the most immediate factor or issue, will actually prevent people to come out. Even if in a week to the elections, you now ask people to come out and vote. They say, no, the atmosphere is not yet calm. I will not come out. Even without the security threat, there are other variables that actually contribute to low voter turnout in Anambra State. What are those things? Number one, the issue of insecurity is not new. It has been there. Then secondly, people are business oriented. I rather go, for my business, than just to stay at the polling unit to cast elections. After all, after casting my vote, I don't see what I actually envisage coming to the state.
The customers are not likely to come out today.
Pardon?
But customers may not come out.
Yeah, even customers, for example, but there are some essential, things that the customers might actually need because they don't have them, in stock at home. So that is why they must actually buy those things. So, but the issue of restrictions in movement, this will actually contribute to people not coming out, if not for the purpose of the elections. So these are some of the issues. Then another expectation which I envisage prior to now is the issue of complete securitization of Anambra State. Even though you cannot completely argue that there might not be issues, but I was very happy when the Inspector General made mention of clear, conducting what you call security threat analysis and deploying a kind of a formidable force, to commensurate, this particular security threat, having a kind of 24,587 police personnel with deputy inspector generals, assistant inspector generals, our 14 commissioners, the air wing of the police, as well as the animal wing of the police, even the marine wing, force, deployed in order to deal with the security threat in Anambra State. Then apart from this, also the Civil Defense Corps. So the expectation has been that elections will be conducted in the state and but definitely we cannot actually zero out the low voter turnout, which I earlier made mention. And a result will also be transmitted, in an accountable, peaceful manner. One other area which I am very optimistic of is the issue of the outcome of the elections, which the synod of the peace accord, which we saw, pioneered as well as moved by the former head of state, Abdul Salami, is a kind of agreement which, look, he who emerges, victorious. Please, we shouldn't actually go against that, even though it is part of the tradition and culture of election result. In the aftermath of electioneering processes, we see people go to court. Of course, that is transparency, because if you are not satisfied with the outcome of the result, you could actually go to court. But one major significance of the peace accord sign is that to avoid post-electoral violence, because the peace accords, sometimes we've seen in history that peace accords, have been signed, but eventually we see the emergence of conflict and violence. And that is why there was peace pact between Germany and France. But that did not stop Germany attacking France. We've seen a lot of instances in which people come to be part of a movement, but later they try to opt out of it due to one reason or the other. So, but having this in Anambra State, we have that particular confidence that the elections will be conducted, as expected. We're also going to get the outcome of the result as expected. Why? Because one major area which people were very apprehensive of was the issue of the seat at home, which has been actually eliminated. But still, as a result of the imposition in the first instance of such a seat at home,
some will still
some will still, not actually have that particular courage to come out.
All right, let's quickly join Chukwunoso Nwabweze at Aroma Awka City Center to give us a live report. Chukwunoso, is over to you. What's happening in your area?
Okay, Fisayo, thank you. You are live in Aroma. In Awka. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Chukwunoso. Go ahead.
Yeah. We're coming to you live from Aroma Ward 2 in Awka, the capital city. The voters have been here waiting over 2 hours, but they're still having issues with the Beavers. They're having some issue of network. Accreditation is still to commence.
Chukwunoso, have you spoken to are those EU observers, or who are those ones, the officials behind you, so that we can perhaps get something from them as well, since they are monitoring the exercise?
Okay, like you can see behind me, there are international observers from the European Union. They said they don't want to speak on camera now until they're able to observe what is happening here now. So let me talk to one of the presiding officers here. Hello.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Come close your mic. What's happening? Why have you not started? All right. I think, Fisayo, they are still working on seeing if the Beavers can work. They're still trying to accredit the first person. She says she doesn't have the time now to talk to us, that they're still working on seeing if the Beavers will come up so that accreditation will commence in NSM voting. It's close to 11 o'clock here.
All right, thank you very much, Chukwunoso Nwabweze. We would come back to you to see if there's success in the efforts of the officers there to get the Beavers working. Beavers being bimodal voters accreditation system. Let's quickly join our News 24 studio and get the final comments for this session from Mr. Oluwole Osaze Uzi, who is the former director in charge of voter education and publicity of the Independent National Electoral Commission. You've seen what has happened so far this morning. And then, of course, we know that in a few months as well, next year, we would have 2 off-cycle elections. All that will eventually, usher us into 2023, the big one. What are your comments at this time? How should your former office up its game? What should we be looking at? Because in that, when we get to those dates, the share volume will be more than this.
Two off-cycle governorship elections next year, scheduled to hold next year. But in between, there are several outstanding by-elections. I think several state house of assembly constituencies and 1 or 2 federal constituencies. And well, only God knows, there might be a lot more than that by next year. So there are lots of elections to be had, and it's a good thing in the sense that, well, you can use it to perfect your processes, perfect your technology, perfect your equipment, leading up to February 2023. So there's enough time and enough opportunities to test these things. Quite a number of the of the polling units your correspondents have visited, similar complaints seems to be coming through that the Beavers is not working as well. There's need to. I was trying to get through to 1 or 2 of my contacts in the commission, trying to get through their situation room to find out what percentage, the kind of reports they are getting, and what percentage of polling units are yet to comment or are having issues with the Beavers. So it's important to have that to see what kind of averages we're looking at. There's a threshold over which we'll just say, look, this is not good enough. Something radical has to be done before that time. So I don't have those statistics now. It's difficult, but the Commission has to take a closer look at what can be done to improve the deployment and the coverage and the efficiency of those Beavers machines. And then on a broader scale, we have to look at other issues that affect the process, the issues of, I think some of your guests have mentioned, court cases and things like that. I don't see a serious problem with court cases. The only problem that comes with court cases where the principle of stare decisis, the principle of precedent is not followed, and you have conflicting court orders or disobedience to pre-existing orders and things like that. Those are the challenges associated with other stakeholders like judiciary. That the issues of security, we have to look at that security. I hear that phrase. I think the associate prof in the studio used that phrase, securitization of the Anambra process. I'm not too sure I quite understand that. I'm not an academic, so maybe I'm lost there. But there's need for security, absolutely. If there's not enough security, there are challenges. But he said something which I quite agree with. That look, other alternatives have to be used, not just show of force. But I think things like security threat assessment has to be done. A number of CSOs and the Commission itself and the security agencies are doing threat assessment using technology and intelligence and other resources rather than just guns and men with boots on the ground. I think those things will help. There are lots of lessons to be learned. It's a learning process, and the day is still early. I think notes are being taken about what's going on in Anambra now against improvements of the process.
Side, we know that the stakeholders are equally taking the notes of those interventions you have made. Many thanks to Mr. Oluwole Uzi for coming on the program. Anambra decides for this session. Of course, hopefully we'll still get to hear from you again and tap from your vast knowledge of experience. Of course, having worked with the umpire for so many years. Let's now go back to Anambra. Our reporter Dorothy is there. Let's hear from Dorothy now to tell us exactly what is happening in our zone. Go ahead, we can hear you. I understand while we're waiting for Dorothy, Blessing is ready again with another report. Go ahead, Blessing.
Are you here now?
Go ahead, we can hear you in the studio. Go ahead, please, with your report.
Okay, this is CKC Odapo Onitsha. You can see that electorates are here casting their votes. Security situation is also calm. We can see a lot of security men ensuring that everything is going in place.
Dorothy, can tell us exactly where you are, the location. We can see a lot of people there. Hello, Dorothy, can you hear me?
I can't hear. I can't hear.
Go ahead, just go ahead with your report then.
I don't know what you're talking about. The turnout is very, very impressive. Highly impressive here in this polling unit. They have up to 4 polling units here, and you can see a lot of people turned out to cast their votes.
Many thanks. Many thanks, Dorothy. Perhaps maybe you move to a quieter place so that we can talk and then hear from you as well. Sheriff Gal Ibrahim, Associate Professor, is still right here. The turnout, in spite of all the, pre-election apprehension, discourse in different fora concerning this election, indigenes of the state in diaspora, the ones in other parts of the country and all that. But we're seeing, in real time, voters trooping out to cast their ballot.
Yes, this is just, let me say, the starting point. The election started quite early, as INEC officials, have been on the ground since 7 o'clock, a.m. And the election started, but there are other places that have not been experiencing such turnout. But there are other factors, that combine together to come up with this. These factors, are not actually more than the identity, the issue of religion, the issue of shift in the hitherto or previously imposed sit at home. Why? Because the announcement made was that, elders, religious leaders, come up with a strategy, to talk to those who wanted to actually impose the sit at home. And that actually made them to reverse, to avert that particular imposition. So if you observe this, when the elders speak, that particular elderly speech or suggestion made, by the elders in Anambra State, which made the withdrawal of the sit at home, that began to give people that particular hope, that there is the hope for us to go and exercise our franchise. There is the hope that the atmosphere will actually become, and that motivated people to actually start coming out. Then another issue is that when the religious leaders, the spiritual leaders also speak, Nigerians are religious, even though we sin against the God, of this particular religion. When religious leaders speak, you see Nigerians trembling, becoming so shaky, and they accept whatever the prophet, tell them. So, the division in Anambra State, the Catholic Church, the Anglican, as well as the Protestant. So when these particular religious leaders come and talk to the people, that they should come out, I think there is no any other force, in Nigeria or in Anambra State that will actually talk to the people beyond this, and for people to actually listen to, for people to actually comply. So these factors, then the issue of identity, we identify ourselves with this particular state as people of the Southeast. We believe, in whatever struggle that has been on the ground, but again, we are also civic. We have civic responsibility, which we actually need to exercise. And now, before we were hearing of not giving that particular opportunity to come out to exercise such franchise. But now we are saying that everybody has agreed, all the, aggrieved members of the society have agreed to give that particular opportunity to the people to come and exercise this particular civic right. And that is why we are seeing people having that particular confidence. But notwithstanding, that is not a guarantee that we're going to have a kind of a massive turnout in other places, because what we heard from her will not actually give a greater or the entire picture, and happenings in Anambra State. So I think these factors are actually contributive to this particular impressive voter turnout, which has gone beyond expectation.
All right, we have several reports lined up, and we'll be getting to them so that we can have an idea of what is going on. Earlier in the day, several areas in Oka, they had started voting. And some areas as well, they had problems of the Beavers machine, the startup for the Beavers machine. So let's join Precious and Adaziani, Ward 2, for our report, and then we'll be back.
This is Adazani, Ward 2, Units 1 and 2. The accreditation have not started. The INEC officials are yet to start, but they are getting ready to start. Let's talk to one of the voters who is here to exercise his franchise. So, sir, what is your name?
My name is Marcy Chijimbre.
So, what is going on?
We're still waiting for the INEC officials to commence the registration.
Why do you think that people are not many here?
It's because of fear.
What delayed the transportation to this place?
I can't say. We came late because of lack of mobility, but the thing has been put in order. Most people are now in their units.
So how earnest are we waiting for this thing?
Soon. We are starting now.
You can see that there are low turnout of voters. This mainly attributed to fear of the unknown or what will happen if they come out.
Just like you alluded to, the Precious corroborating what you said, in some areas the turnout is not so much, and the respondent was saying that there's still this palpable fear that there might be some violence and all that based on what had been happening in the state in the past few weeks. We will also join our correspondent Chukwunoso Nwabweze. If his report is ready. I understand that I will soon come up with a report. Once we get that, we'll join him, and then he will tell us if some of the machines are now working in the places we earlier visited. And of course, Ekenondulu is also moving around Oka to see that if those machines are working, so that the people will begin to cast their ballot, and the process would go on as planned. If Chukwunoso Nwabweze's report is ready, we can take that, and then we'll continue with our discussion. If the turnout is not as high as envisaged, it might not let the process smell as sweetly as we would like, because that is almost as if you disenfranchise yourself voluntarily, and then may not necessarily have the coloration we want in terms of people giving their consent to the process, as well as electing who they want to govern them for the next 4 years.
Yeah. One of the disadvantages of democracy is that looking at the age bracket for, universal suffrage, let's say from the age of 18, this is an age bracket in which some of the individuals who fall within this particular age bracket, many are not even rational enough, to determine what comes to them and what goes out of them. Why is this? Is because, those people who refuse to actually come out to vote, for one reason or the other, it's still some people. Tomorrow we say, oh, we've been marginalized, we've been disenfranchised, bringing all sorts of, baseless argument and reasons that they have not been, included into the political processes. But the issue is that every rational human being, but even the rationality again, It might also be part of rational basis, for people not to come out. Because as we used to argue from the safety net philosophy, that people should actually think of their lives first. Because the whole process, starting from the campaign, even the political parties, now look at the political parties and individual electorate. The political parties were also afraid, to venture into some areas. And that is why campaigns have not been actually fully grounded, developed, in other places, as in the previous Edo elections and other elections, previously conducted. Why? Because even members of the political parties were actually afraid to go campaigning. The cricket jump we heard of Ifeanyi Oba, we have not been seeing that particular campaign strategy. What is it called? The roadside show. All these things have been limited as a result of what? As a result of the security threat, imposed by the prevailing situation in the state. So that is why it is also part of being rational, sometimes not to come out. Why? Because people would think that with or without me, with or without us, the elections will still go on. But one thing we must also put into cognizance is that if you look at the terrains, in Anambra State, all places are not equal in terms of being a flashpoint, in terms of being a well-secured or securitized terrain. They are not the same. We have far local government that are actually far from even the center, which is Oka. Those in Oka will actually feel that comfort, because it is like a comfort zone, because that place is well fortified. I mean, it's well being securitized, So those in the remote areas will actually develop that particular sense of insecurity, and that will actually disincentivize them, from actually coming out to exercise their franchise.
All right. We will come back to some of these points because we in one of the we have reporters in some of these local government areas, and they will be coming out, of course, with reports. In the course of a broadcast. Chukuna Nwabueze has been going around town. I will hope to get to him soon. And he says voting is ongoing in the areas that he has visited. Once we have the visuals for that, we'll let you have them, as well as our correspondents in Oka as well. Let's take an interview with the DIG, one of the DIG's supervising the process. If it is ready now, let's take it.
This is Udo Koronkachuku at the police headquarters. Okay, with me here is the DIG in charge of the operations. Everything security about this election is in his hand. He is DIG Zaki Ahmed. He's going to tell us about the security situation, the conduct of the people so far, even the conduct of his personnel. DIG, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I can tell you, you have gone round, we have also gone round, and you can see for yourself. There's security everywhere. We have dominated the space. I think so far so good. It is very encouraging. There's security everywhere. We are collaborating with other security agencies. All of us are out. We have common goal to ensure that there is safety and security in all citizens.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's back to you, studio.
Thank you very much. We got the men manning the process, especially ensuring that the voters can go out and exercise their franchise without any fear. Prof, let's look at it this way. It's not complete if security is not guaranteed. The process, in fact, may not be able to go on. And we've seen that the deployment by the lead agency, that's the police, and of course other security agencies, has been quite heavy. And that is also showing in the fact that we've not had skirmishes at the moment.
Yeah, I think the presence of the heavy security personnel in Anambra is one of the major factors that will actually make this particular election a success. Why? Because there are two things, or let me say there is a kind of a triangular, issue which actually affect this particular Anambra gubernatorial election. One of these major issues is the securitization of the state itself. Even though if it is not actually enough to go into all nook and crannies of the state, but at least it will actually maintain peace and order in the state, and it will also allow for a successful conduct of the election. Then apart from this, we also look at the external intervention. You know, external intervention in the sense that, you know, that particular you know, xenocentrist nature of Africans and Nigerians, you know, is still actually existing, you know, in our own minds and DNA. Why is it so? Because the threat issued by United States of America that whoever compromises, you know, in this particular electioneering process, either to create violence or to, you know, provide an openness for the elections to be rigged, there's going to be a serious denial in terms of visa, you know, issuance, you know, to such individuals, you know, from Nigeria. So these two issues, one is security, the other is actually foreign, I think contribute. But those who initially impose a heavy threat to the elections, they fear the external, you know, more than the internal. Why? Because nobody will actually like being stopped, you know, from traveling, especially to United States, being a kind of a superpower, a global power per se. So these two issues are contributive to this particular trend in terms of allowing people to come out, you know, for the exercise of their franchise. Then apart from this, there is also another issue, which is the issue of religious leaders as well as the elders. So which means that the federal government has partners, you know, to talk to actually go into dialogue with, to actually converse on this particular trending security issue in Anambra State prior to the elections, during the elections, and even after the elections. Why? Because those people that have been listened, you know, to by this particular members of IPOB, especially the religious institutions as well as the elders. So the federal government should actually see them and maintain them as partners, you know, for maintaining peace and security in that particular region. Why? Because the argument made by IPOB is that we are suspending the sit at home. Why? Because we have been actually contacted by our elders, one, and secondly, by our religious leaders. So church unity and mosque unity remain relevant in Nigerian politics. So Nigerian government should actually, hold it tightly, this particular strategy, as well as, this particular way of handling security threat, you know, in the southeastern part of Nigeria. So I think these two factors have been so relevant in making sure that the elections hold, the internal and the external, which the elders, the religious leaders, the security. And we can also argue because Nigerian security operatives, you know, as it is apparent, you know, the heavy deployment. I think it also shows that Nigeria is still strong and it remains strong. And it has that particular capability to defend her internal sovereignty, which is the first thing to do before we actually go back to the external. So I think if this will continue to be, and I wish this will actually be replicated in the jungle politics happening in Nigerian forests and bushes, which will actually bring sanity in the country.
All right, Prof, thank you very much for that intervention. The compliments given to the Nigerian Police, which is the lead agency of you know, security for the elections, seem very timely because it seems as if you looked over your shoulder when you were giving the compliment because the first public relation officer just stepped in to tell you area is calm, talking about CP Frank Mba there. CP, you were in Anambra this week. Just to see, you know, how you went with the, you know, the IG. Deployments have been made, and we've had reports even from the field from our own correspondents right there. It seems the presence of your men has given confidence to the citizens to come out and, participate in this process?
First of all, let me appreciate the fantastic job the NTA crew has been doing in the build-up to these elections. Like you rightly noted, I flew into Anambra on Tuesday, of course, as part of the entourage of the Inspector General of Police. The IGP participated in the Stakeholders Forum, which was midwife by INEC, and had in attendance all the leading political candidates as well as their party chairmen and other stakeholders in the state. And thereafter, the IG had other engagements, spoke to the personnel of the NPF who are on ground for purposes of the election, encourage them, admonish them, warn them to do what is right and what is legitimate for purposes of this election. And thereafter, returned to Abuja. And then I stayed back for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and also a greater part of yesterday before returning to Abuja. And from what we have seen on ground, we are very comfortable that this election will not only hold, it will eventually be a huge disappointment to all the doomed prophets. And at the end of the day, we'll come out better, stronger, and more united as a people and as a nation. I listened to Prof, and I couldn't but smile because, everyone likes to be appreciated. And these are men of tough integrity. People from their classes, they don't speak what they can back up empirically. But my assurance to Nigerians is the fact, particularly in the Anambra, is the fact that not only will we provide an enabling environment for this election to take place without violence, we will also provide a level playing field for all the political actors and for the citizens to be able to exercise their franchise. As I speak to you, deployments are intact. We've covered all the nooks and crannies of Anambra State. We have A components, the police air wings, who are providing aerial patrols and then providing area surveillance and effectively linked with the ground troops. We've got the Force Marine unit taking charge of the waterways. And then, of course, we've got sufficient men, both covert operatives and overt operatives dominating the area. And then we are working very closely with our counterparts from the Nigerian military. We're also working very closely with our counterparts from the civil defense, the migrations, the DSS in particular, who are out there picking bits and pieces of intelligence, analyzing them, and turning over actionable intelligence to us. So it's a robust deployment strategy. We had earlier conducted a threat assessment, a security threat assessment, and we have identified both the latent threats, the potential threats, and those threats that were very obvious. And a lot of those threats, we have identified them, we had isolated them, we had neutralized quite a lot of them, and then the rest of them, we are also closing up on them and making sure they don't become a problem for the conduct of the election.
All right, this first submission already gives us cause for confidence. But there's an aspect that, people would like to know, morale. You know what I mean by morale for the men.
I can tell you very clearly that won't be a problem. That is not a problem for purposes of this election. If you know IGP Usman Akali Baba, you know he is a welfarist. and he put his foot on ground and insisted that everything that we needed to ensure that we perform optimally for this election is done. Every single thing. He went the extra miles to make sure that there are even new equipment that were deployed for this election, new operational vehicles, new kits, new gadgets, and then he also made sure that all our allowances are paid. In fact, this is one of the first time when policemen are receiving their allowances even before the commencement of the elections. I can tell you, as at the time I left Anambra yesterday, I did not rely on the report from the supervisors. I did not rely on the report from the strategic commanders. I engaged and related and interacted with a lot of the junior officers, and most of them confirmed to me that they've gotten their lot of the allowances. And when Nigerians have a song for celebrating alerts when they get alerts, and quite some of them, as soon as I ask them, they simply burst into that song and they will sing the song for me. But I also noticed that there were a few people who have not gotten theirs. This morning I spoke to the police PRO who is coordinating the interactions on ground. I've asked her to speak to the commanders of those people to begin to compile their names so that we can quickly get back to our budget and finance department and find out what the problem is. Such problems will probably not be unconnected to issues of technology, issues of probably somebody not filling the forms correctly, issues of maybe the returns, the documentary returns that were turned in probably from their commands or their units or their squadrons, probably missing in one of two key information. And we will deal with that. But they all, I've spoken to them, they should all be assured that there is a sufficient budgetary provision for their allowances, and anybody who had not received his allowance by now, there must be a technical issue or a clerical issue that need to be dealt with.
All right, let's get a sense of happenings at the moment in Oka. Ekenendulwe, it's over to you.
Okay, Fisayo, right now I'm in Oga St. Peter Church. In this place we have 2 polling units, and this also happens to be where the candidate of the APC, Senator Anambra, will be voting, and he is here to cast his votes, and we've caught up with him. We would like him to speak to us. Okay, I'd like my cameraman to get the voting process with the Beavers. Hello, Fisayo, and people are also around here. From what I've observed, the vote smoothly, even though the Beavers is a kind of slow, but it is slow and steady from this place.
All right, let's
we'll get the APC candidate, Senator Anambra, to speak to us in a short while.
All right, while we wait for the candidate to speak, Ekene, you've been around town. How has the process gone so far? First, men, second, machine, third, security.
Okay, it's a kind of mixed. In some places, the Beavers worked. In some places, they were having teething issues. I'll still go back to those places I went to before to find out if they've been able to resolve the issues. But in this particular polling station at St. Peter's Catholic Church, Oga, they said, I've spoken with a few people, and they say that the voting has been going on, even though it has been a kind of slow.
All right, if you can just move closer so that we can hear from the candidate whether he's been able to cast his ballot as well as the process so that we can speak with him. Go ahead.
Okay, Senator Anambra, you just cast your vote now. Can you tell us how you've been able to observe the processes so far?
You can see the orderly manner in which things are going. I've just come to cast my vote, and you can see that everybody here, people here are for APC. I can assure you, nobody here will vote for any other party than APC, and I can assure you.
How can you be that?
Because I know what we are. I know my people know me, and I know what they are doing. I know that they are here for me, not for any other person, just for me.
Okay, before today, people were kind of expressing a kind of fear because of threats of security issues. So, but here, seeing the people coming out in this number, what happened in between?
Because we're able to calm the nerves of people and promise them that nothing is going to happen to them, and they believe me. When you believe a leader, you do what the leader says, and that's what it is. They believe in me that there are no problem, and you can see nothing is happening here now. Everything is going smoothly, quietly and smoothly. Things are going well.
Okay. All right, so I want you to talk to the diasporans, the Anambrians in the diasporans.
Yes. Okay, Fisayo, you've heard from the senator. He just said that the processes here in Oga has been smooth so far.
All right, thank you very much. Try to be safe there, maintain distance. So of course, I can see that it's quite difficult. You and other pressmen jostling for interview there. Also avoid campaigns. Campaigns are over. So we continue with this, and I want to commend you because you've been going around. Please do ensure that we get one or two situation reports from the areas we've gone to in the earlier hours of the day where the Beavers was not working, to see that the people have been able to vote and have been part of the process as well. Thank you, Ekene.
Thank you very much, Fisayo.
All right, so our man on ground, Ekene Louis, alongside so many other reporters on ground, giving us live reports from different parts of the state. What we are seeing is the mood before was one of trepidation. I will still stay with the first PRO very briefly. There used to be this rule, policemen stay some distance away from polling units and all that. In view of those threats, where there's some flexibility, so that at least with the presence and what can discourage any kind of nefarious violent activity.
Yes, sure. I mean, when you are going into an operation and you conduct your threat analysis, what you do is you end up developing a strategic operational response to those threats that you have identified. So you draw up an operational order that is customized, tailored to suit those threats that you've identified. And so our deployment strategy for this election is intelligence driven, is target oriented, is purposeful, is customized for this election. So there are some adjustments in the usual security deployment for elections, typical elections. But it will also not be right for me to do a full disclosure of all our strategies. But I can, the much I can tell you is that you will not still see arm-bearing policemen at the polling booth itself because of the proximity of the policemen at that point in time to citizens who are actually exercising their franchise. But within those areas, you have rapid response team that can react at the snap of the finger. So we have a robust, customized, tailored to suit security arrangement for this election.
All right, let's quickly also take a report because you were saying earlier, Prof, that religious leaders played a big role in dousing tension and encouraging people to come out for the exercise. So let's hear from the Anglican Bishop of the Niger very quickly.
I'm here in my polling unit where I have just sized my civic responsibility by casting my vote. The security situation in this area is very satisfactory. I feel very happy. Previous information we were getting was that every place will be filled with terror. But I have not observed any terror. I have not observed any crisis. People are calm and free, moving about to cast their votes. So I don't know what is happening elsewhere, but I feel just as it's very okay here, the police, the security personnel are well positioned, and there is freedom of movement. Things are really working.
Thank you very much for that. We got the Bishop of the Anglican Bishop of the Niger. He's even been able to cast his ballot in his own area. But let's join my colleague Nnamdi Odipo and Aniocha. Nnamdi. Mazi Nnamdi.
Yeah, Fisao, good to see you. Fisao, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Mazi Nnamdi.
Well, Fisao, of course, I understand you're calling me Mazi, knowing the bits about me that I've spent some time, considerable time actually in Anambra State. So I guess that's where the Mazi is coming from. Of course, in addition to the fact that my name is Nnamdi, but most people do not know that I'm actually Anioma. Fisao, please go ahead.
So tell me what's happening there. I can see that, all the fears and trepidation before the election is not really going like that, and people are coming out to cast their ballots. But tell us exactly how it is in your area and areas you have visited this morning.
Very quickly, Fisao, let me just make reference to what you've just said about the turnout, or how people still came out in spite of the trepidations and the issues in the build-up, the tension and the fear in the build-up to this exercise. Of course, a lot of people also anticipated that this election would actually be anticlimactic, considering that it just may not be what people think. Yes, first we noticed that the group that had earlier on called, I wouldn't give any credibility to the group, but then I would just go ahead to say that they did go ahead to withdraw their call for people to sit back at home. And of course, the presence of police personnel across the state also boosted confidence and allowed people to also come out to want to participate in this election. First, we've gotten reports today from different parts of the state, saying and citing how people are coming out. Maybe not as much as we would have expected. We also did anticipate that we might not necessarily have a deluge. But then we were seeing people come out. We're hoping that before noon and before the close of votes, more people will come out to participate in this process. The ambience, it's been largely and substantially peaceful and calm. I am right now reaching you from Adaziani in Aniocha local government area, where we have two polling units, two voting points actually where I am. According to the information that I got, the materials arrived there well before 7 a.m. as a matter of fact, and they already had voters in queue waiting, maybe not in queue, but waiting for the polls to officially open at 8:30. And when that happened, there were people on the queue waiting to participate in the election. I've got an aged person here. Maybe, yes, I should describe him as being aged, as a matter of fact. Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing? Kakime?
I'm okay.
Okay, great. Ichoka, Biko, just come this way. Can they Madufugi Ofuma? Igasu Igbo, Igasu and Igbo. Igasu Igbo. Biko Gwandi Nigerians, Indinegi Kita, to process Adi. Okay, Beba.
N'ụtụtụ abịara m ebe a n'ezigbo ụtụtụ. Rapụ ka m jide. Okay. Abịara m ebe a n'ezigbo ụtụ. And process ihe niile na-aga ọfụma. Ndị mmadụ na-apụta. Enwere nsogbu ọbụla. Mụ abịakwugo tụọ my own vote. Wee cherizie na-enegharị anya. I'm happy with the turnout n'ebe ebe abụọ ji akụ were gaa secondary school Adaziani in Anocha local government area.
Okay, Fisayo, let me just quickly interpret what the gentleman has said or just said. He said he's very happy with the process. He was there quite early. He didn't mention, he wasn't specific on the timing, but he said he was there quite early. And as at the time he came, the material and ad hoc personnel were already on ground. It didn't take him much time to cast his vote. And according to him, the process has been peaceful and calm, and he does like it. I've got another gentleman here with me as well. Good morning, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Would you please give us an idea of how much time it took you to undergo the process of accreditation, concurrently, of course, accreditation and voting as well, and give me your general impression.
Now, if we have a keta, if I go for the INEC, Fabian Oge, and that is good to materials Noge, and they've been in the camp, and security agents are doing their work. And no harm. If this is security, work with a game and Makaina,
Well, Fisayo, that's another endorsement of the process. I mean, he just made allusions to the fact that the process has been peaceful, substantially peaceful, and that he has been able to vote. Well, Fisayo, I cannot hear you. I'm trying to see if I can establish contact with the studio to see if it's possible to hear you. But if you can hear me, Fisayo, okay, great. I think I can hear you now back, Fisayo. So please go ahead. Basically, I've had to speak to two persons who endorsed the process, and who are somewhat, actually happy about the entire process, Fisayo.
Before we finish with this broadcast this weekend, I'm sure I would have understood a few paragraphs of the Igbo language, the way these interviews are going. We also have Mazi Frank Mba in the house. He's the first PRO. So I didn't need to translate for him what your respondents were saying. But in terms of the presence of security agents there, how has it been? Has it helped in terms of confidence to come out? And how has the police-civil relations been like, especially for the indigenes of the state?
Well, you do have Frank Mba there, the first PPRO, and we would recall that a couple of days ago he was on TV and, of course, other media outlets as well, reassuring the people of Anambra that the police presence was not meant to threaten, but to reassure. And I would confirm that that is actually playing out. And of course, again, there's something I should note very quickly, Fisayo. In the past, and we have seen that happen, not just in Anambra, by the way, in other states where we have elections, especially during the general elections, where you'll see polling stations, I beg your pardon, in rural areas, and you might not see police presence in these rural areas. And of course, maybe where you probably see like one unarmed policeman but that's not what we're seeing play out in these particular elections. We're seeing adequate presence of security officials at almost every polling booths units that we've gone to, and we see them seated, I mean, away, if not seated, standing at least away from where the voters are, allowing them to take charge of the process, observing, of course, and, calming. Their presence is providing some sort of calming effect to the entire process. This does make sense. I mean, elections... Sorry, were you going to interject there?
No, we were just admiring the view. We're just admiring
great. Yes, I wanted the camera to give you... yes, very, very true. I wanted the camera to just give you an idea what is happening in the background. We've got a couple of security personnel at my far right, but I don't know if the camera will be able to pan to that area just so you'll see. But Fisayo, very quickly before I go, I would like to speak to a lady. I mean, if you do not mind, she's actually... cast her votes, and please, would you just come this way, madam? Good afternoon, ma. We would like to get your impression of the exercise. I don't know what time you came here, and I do not know how much time it took you to also cast your vote. Did you have any issue at all undergoing this process? If you don't mind, man, can you just face the camera a bit?
Yes, at the initial stage in the morning, we come here before 8 a.m. We did not see anybody except the policeman, the security controllers. And maybe people were afraid to come out. But before 11 a.m.,
people started coming.
They started coming. But we have small issue with the machine that's capturing people.
Initially?
It's going slow. You see that before it's captured about five people, it will took about 20 or 25 minutes.
Okay.
It doesn't move faster.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Fisayo, well, you do have the INEC official from headquarters there with you in the studio. I mean, this is a report we've gotten time and again on the operations of the BVAC, that's the biometric voter authentication system devices. I don't know how it works and whether it works with the mobile connectivity or so, but I think the question you should probably put out there, and Nigerians would like to know how it works in terms of technology and connectivity, and how whether internet connectivity slows its operation, and also asks if the technical personnel that INEC did promise would be on ground and readily available to attend to issues like these are also on ground and attending to complaints from various areas. As a matter of fact, we have seen some of these happen in some of the places that we visited Fisayo.
Thank you very much, Nnamdi, for your reports. We will still also get back to you in the course of this broadcast to make sure that you update us as well. And the CP is also greeting his men there, extend his greetings to them. They are standing there, and so that morale will be high in your location. But in terms of, we had two people from INEC. One is the former director of voter education, and then the current director of voter education and publicity. I'm sure they will take some of these observations back. The current director will take the observations back, that's Mr. Victor Aluko, to the headquarters, so that whatever can be done would be done in the shortest time possible, so that people would get to vote. And if that is not possible, the fallback options are also available. Right here in the studio, we still have the first PRO, of course, who was applauding his men there, and of course, Sheriff Gali Ibrahim, Associate Professor of International Relations, University of Abuja. So security issues, to a reasonable extent, to at least some of the reports we've seen now, we're seeing them well-kitted, looking very friendly, and people are going about their, business, and which is of course voting. But the other issue, of course, is the issue of technology. We've had some challenges in that direction, but the options are there. Perhaps an extension, so that people who have not been able to cast the ballot should be given the opportunity before the close of day.
Yes, of course. If those people who have been, on the queue are not able to cast their vote as a result of the technical issues, attached to the Viva, they are given such an opportunity. I think that will also be democratic. One major issue here is that you hardly control something which you are not the maker, you are not the producer. And that is one of the major setback, of lacking in technology. But again, in the morning and yesterday, the INEC officials said that they fully deploy also technicians who will be taking care of these particular machines in terms of facing such a fiasco. You cannot expect actually 100% satisfaction in terms of technology and otherwise. We are aware that the INEC chairman he has been actually reiterating that INEC has been fully prepared, for this particular election, just as Frank Omba, also made his submissions in terms of security, which apparently we have been seeing that, since the inception of this particular exercise. And another issue is the coming of the APC candidate there, who made his own submission after casting his own vote, but that particular submission was like a campaign which should have been avoided, even by the candidate. One major issue I want to mention here is that the issue of all these manifestos of these particular political parties, which one of the election observers supported by European Union, they said that, look, they want to venture into studying these particular manifestos for civic education. And what are those still they want to center on? Are the issues of, gender inclusion, the issue of, security, the issue of climate change, the issue of economy, as well as one other issue, I think is employment or so. So, but clearly speaking, if you come to Africa and Nigeria, nobody will vote because of a manifesto of a political party. Why? Because these particular manifestos are tantamount, to being empty. Why empty? The manifestos are there, they exist in paper, but the politicians are not prone to executing and implementing the content of the manifesto. And that is one major area that actually create voter apathy in Africa, not only in Nigeria. So the issue here is that when the United States of America, other European states, look at manifesto, they vote for a candidate on the basis of the content of the manifesto of his political party, without even looking at the candidate. Remember Barack Obama. The Americans wouldn't have voted Barack Obama because of his color and whatever. But looking at the content, of the manifesto of the Democratic Party, that is why the Americans went for that. But here nobody cares about manifesto because they know that it's an empty manifesto. You get the point? They hardly implement even half of the manifesto. In fact, the political parties do not even comply with their own constitutions, not only to think of what they even promise to people. So that is why, these, people you see queuing up to vote, they must have been influenced or motivated in one way or the other. One, maybe if you don't have a voter's card, you cannot even operate your bank account. If you don't have a kind of a national identity card number, you'll not be allowed to register an account or even your mobile phone, the SIM card. All these particular issues are what made Nigerians to venture into this. But again, there are those who responsibly know the significance of voter card, and they also know the significance of casting their own vote for the candidate they actually so wish. Some of these particular people are being rational, and they advertently look at the candidate that will actually provide such political satisfaction to the people of the state. And that is why I made mention of age. You can see most of the people interviewed are people of age, whereas the young ones, you don't even see them. They're either sleeping, some of them are there doing one thing or the other in their own enclave, but you see the old age, those who have experienced the bad days, the horror days, but they are here because they want to make a change. They want to contribute, to development of that particular state in making a choice among these particular candidates.
CP, I have to say this, 34,500 in Anambra at the moment. We have 2 more off-cycle governorship elections next year. But the big deal is 2023. If we do this for a state, how do we now recalibrate for the general election so that we can have the same impact, this joyful impact of going, casting your ballot, even slapping hands with friends in spite of all the, noise that we had before? How can we still do it, not with so many people, because naturally general elections, there's no way you have 34,500 policemen in one state times 36 and the FCT. So how do we now begin to, recalibrate or rearrange this in such a way that, yes, you are stretched, but at the same time the election will go as smoothly and seamlessly as possible?
Visayo, you've answered the question. You talked about recalibration. And what you simply means is reordering your priorities, reordering your resources, change your deployment strategies. So let me tell you something. If you look at the Anambra state election, you will see that even the media deployed hugely. And so NTA, for instance, on ground, I saw so many NTA reporters with lots of your technologies on display, your backpacks, your OB van, so much of your technologies. In fact, some media houses deployed as many as 60 reporters in Anambra. Anambra has about 21 local government, and so they have reporters, 2 reporters each in each local government. They've got reporters at the police headquarters. They got reporters attached to the DIG coordinating the election. They got reporters at INEC offices and everywhere. These same media houses will recalibrate during the general elections. They had the luxury of resources for Anambra election because it is an off-cycle election. But when it's a general election, these media houses will still deliver on their mandate, but they will deliver with lesser persons. They will simply redesign their deployment. That's exactly what we'll be doing. Remember, part of the reason why we did this, why we usually do this level of deployment in off-cycle elections is because apart from the internal threats, and I'm using that internal loosely, there are also external threats. Again, I'm using that word in parentheses. Now, Anambra State, for example, have got borders with about 6 states or thereabout. In the north with Kogi, in the east with Enugu, in the west with Edo and Delta, and the south with Imo, Rivers, and probably Abia. Now, in each of these states, depending on the predominant political party or the predominant politics playing out in those states, you have thugs, you have criminal elements, you have political touts that are like on the loose. So you needed to police those borders very heavily to ensure that there are no free flow of miscreants, hoodlums, criminal elements, thugs from those states to the other. You will also try to make sure there is no free flow of arms, illicit drugs from one state to the other. But when there's a general election, it is to attend, O Israel. So it's easier for you to contain each state because there won't be free hands roving from state A to state B. The political godfathers are all back to their bases trying to win the elections. So they won't be on the loose trying to foment trouble in the next states. And so a whole lot of factors. Sometimes when there are off-cycle elections, have you not noticed it in the past? You will see even sitting governors moving from their states and moving into the state where there is a political contest. And so, but if it's a general election, nobody's going to move. Even if you're a local government chairman, you are not going to move because you're trying to win election in your ward, in your constituency. And so it's easier for us to recalibrate, rearrange, and allocate our resources in a manner that will take care of those elections. And most importantly is the fact that we've got sufficient experience policing the democratic process. Since 1999, I guess, we have been policing Nigerian political system undisrupted till date. So currently you have a generation of police officers that have acquired sufficient skills on how to police the electoral system.
Some even had to learn how to run very fast to chase ballot snatchers in the past. But that's just, by the way, I will be taking rounding up this session now. My guest will stay. My senior colleague, of course, Cyril Stoba, is standing by for the next session. And for our brothers and sisters in Anambra State, time for you to cast your vote to determine the next 4 years, the destination of the ship of state in that place. Government, house, or car awaits. Play your politics for the greater good, and keep it locked on the Nigerian Television Authority, where we have our reporters standing by to give you up-to-date stories as they unfold from every local government area of Anambra State. My name is Fisayo Ogunfuyi, thanking you for being a part of it. My colleague Cyril Stoba will be right back after, will be in after this timeout to continue with the second leg of the coverage.
Research indicates that though women constitute more than half of the population of Nigeria, they seem to be outnumbered in the corridors of power. This development attracts mixed feelings from residents who spoke on why women in the state have not been pulling their weight politically since the creation of the state in 1991.
I believe that both at the federal, the state and local government level, that we've not been getting it right. There is need for women to participate in politics because we are the people that are supposed to be talking about issues concerning us.
Anambra is alive and conscious to the very essence of women, and they know equally that women have capacity. They have a lot of ability to absorb shock because of what they do at the domestic level.
People may think it's not been very bad, and it's been getting better by the day. You know, our society, our traditional society, seemed to forbid women from doing certain things that they thought were the exclusive preserves of men.
The state made history with Dame Vijay Tiaba as the first female governor in Nigeria in 2006, while Senator Joy Emodi was first elected senator for the Anambra North Senatorial District. Presently, the state has 2 serving female senators, Stella Odua of the APC representing Anambra North and Senator Uche Kunife of the PDP representing Anambra Central. And in the House of Representatives, Linda Chubi-Bazu representing Onitsha North and South Federal Constituency, while Beverly Nkemdiche-Bazu is the only female legislator in the State Assembly. Apart from those few women active in politics, respondents blame marginalization, social and cultural barriers as some challenges that still prevail and account for low women participation in politics, not only in the state, but in Nigeria at large.
But there is need. We are learned, we are educated. There is need for us to move out, move ahead, come out and make our voice count in situations affecting us.
The challenge impeding the women are the same challenges that impede some men too. And that challenge is the financial aspect of active participation in politics. Politics in Anambra State is very cost effective. You cannot effectively drive a campaign without some good source of funds. And that is the little impediment. But I can assure you that what Anambrarians look forward to is to see a woman that has that capacity, a woman that has the necessary credentials. Once there is such, people will be willing to put in money to drive you.
They advocate gender balance in politics and further amendment of the 2010 Electoral Act to encourage 35% affirmative action for women in politics. With available records showing that most women in positions of authority have proven their mettle, respondents say that if given the chance, women can make the desired difference in governance. In Oka, Ngozi Okekaro, NTA News.
The new youth policy of 2019 recognizes youths in Nigeria to fall between the ages of 18 to 29 years. Pre-colonial era, students, activists, and young military officers rose to take over the mantle of leadership from the British. Notable amongst them, General Yakubu Gowon. Others include late Isaac Adaka Boro, who formed the Niger Delta Volunteer Forces, General Murtala Mohammed, and many others whose useful contributions still make waves. In recent time, the age range of political leadership has shifted to 40 years and above. This has been attributed to the rising trend of money politics, lack of inclusion in political decision-making, unemployment, lack of exposure, and illiteracy.
Presently, youths are now being appointed into commissioners, SAs, and other posts alike, but it's not enough. It's not enough. But I must say that there's an improvement. It's a going concern, and much ground needs to be covered.
We find that one of the problems they're having was financial status.
However, the youth have been seen to have rechanneled their strength to election-related crimes such as thuggery, ballot snatching, where they are both the victim and the perpetrators. Since the inception of democracy in Anambra State, August 27, 1991, the youth have recorded low participation. Aside the state government's appointment of 30-year-old Anambra State Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget Development, Mark Okoye, are judged to be performing well, while other youths of his age are not too lucky.
The best way to help the situation is to lower the price for the forms and, of course, allow the youth to participate fully in political decision making.
The youths are not completely involved, but the process is a positive one.
Government should provide more job opportunities for the youth in order for us and stop using most of the youth as a tout in terms of election, which is not good.
These have given rise to policies and campaigns to reawaken the leadership consciousness of youths, including Not Too Young to Run Global campaign, which was launched in 2016, Vote, Not Fight, Election, No Be War, among other campaigns for youth reorientation. They added that for youth to be politically relevant again, they must be fully involved in activism by presenting candidates with people-driven representation and uncompromised prospects for good governance. They should also effect defined changes through active participation in electoral processes. Many are also of the view that youth should stand up against perpetrators of negative acts that make them politically irrelevant, presenting them as societal nuisance. In Oka, Jen Francis Obi, NTA News.
The presence of security agencies here is to make the people to have the confidence enough to come out and vote. And that is what we are getting in Anambra Primary School, where we have a polling unit. With me here is the Deputy Commandant General of the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, who is going to talk to us about the election. He has gone so far around the place and he is here. How are you prepared to do this task?
So far, so good. The election has, the few areas have gone to. The election is going on very smoothly, and that is what we expect. It's been very smooth. And on our own, we're doing our best. Deployed enough officers for this election. Every polling unit have two officers. All in all, we took 20,000 officers for this election. And you know, we have to be mindful of our duty. Our core mandate is protection of critical infrastructure of government across the country, so that the local, state, and federal level. So we also deploy enough officers to all these critical infrastructure across the states, so that nobody will use this issue of election to vandalize the critical infrastructure across the state. So we are very, very ready. Very ready.
Thank you, sir. Well, so far, with what is happening here, you can see that the people's confidence has been boosted enough. A lot of them are out here, and they have said that they are ready to come out and do their civic obligation to the nation.
All right. It's a Saturday that has been extremely busy. A short while ago, Fisayo Mufui was in here. He signed off to take a breather. I am Cyril Stover. And, well, thank you for staying with us on this Saturday as we broadcast to you on Anambra Decides. I still have our guests here with me. That's talking about Gali Sharif Ibrahim, Associate Professor in the Department of Political Science, University of Abuja. It's good you're still hanging in here with us today.
Welcome, Cyril.
Yes. And of course, we are still here with Frank Mba, Commissioner of Police. He is the spokesperson for the Nigeria Police Force. Good to see you still with us here.
Thank you, Cyril.
Yeah, I suppose it must have been a very, very busy period for your men, because everyone talks about security here.
Clearly it is. We're trusting God.
Right.
It will end in praise.
Okay. Well, so far, things have been running much as expected, and there haven't been reports of untoward incidences. And so far, so good. And okay, and so we're here. We'll continue with the analysis of what has been happening and how things are playing out in Anambra as the electorate there decide who becomes the governor. Let me just, by way of setting the tone for what we'll be talking about here, so far so good. Nothing untoward has been reported so far. And many more people are beginning to justify the confidence that they had initially that this will work out just fine. Right.
I think, Cyril, we have a kind of a shift in all structurations. from the fear, people developed initially about these particular elections. And a reporter reported that early morning people declined to actually come out. But when some of them came out and they discovered the nature, the ambience, of the electioneering units, they began to call others. Or some of them will even hang around and they'll, please, if you get there, just give me details of what is happening there. Then if it is good for me to come out, I will. Then after at around 11 o'clock, people started coming. But we're still having issues in terms of voter turnout in some places. And another issue we've talked about is the issue of the Viva. In some places, it failed, while in others, it's a kind of too slow, So I think the INEC officials must have taken note of this particular development as it relates to the Viva. Then another issue is what I shall have allowed Frank Mba to venture into, but I can also say one or two things there. Right. The issue of security. I think the security atmosphere is well commendable, sincerely speaking. Why? Because this has sent a signal, to Nigerians that whoever you are, wherever you come from, Nigeria is not a zoo, but a republic. And Nigeria can actually maintain its sovereignty, at all levels, at all costs, regardless of the zone or the region or the state of this particular federation. Democracy, which allows for the freedom of people, which suffrage is not unconnected to that, is also being protected by our security personnel in Anambra State, just as we experienced recently in Edo State and other places. So I think the architecture is well constructed, and if this particular system will actually continue, we're going to see a well-planned 2023, because as the IG said, and also developed here by Frank Mba, the issue of first identifying the security threat. When you identify that, you try to act to respond according to such security threat in order to neutralize that. And I think that is very fundamental, in electioneering process, as well as in the maintenance of our democratic journey in Nigeria. So these are some of the issues, the strength of Nigeria, as well as the security operators. It's only the political feasibility that is what is actually required there. When the government has an interest, when the government wants to fulfill all righteousness and perfect all its responsibilities, then the government has that particular capability to venture into solving such threat or whatever threat that might actually emanate from any angle, either in electioneering process, either in its normal routine of law enforcement, as well as securitization of the nation, or even the individuals within the state. So I think this responsibility is fully discharged. Then another issue is the issue that we have so many areas in which the government can actually venture. If you look at all the separatist movement around the world, you come to understand that there is a choice movement, there is also justice cause movement. In fact, there are those who even believe that even if there is no cause, there is no any reason whatsoever for people to decide to actually move on their own, they should do that. But this is a matter of constitutionalism. Constitutionalism in the sense that we are not living in a jungle. We as a people, we live in a place, even, despite the diversity, but we are being governed by a constitution and a rule of law. So people should be able to understand that if the state forbid something, we shouldn't actually venture into that. But one major issue is that the government and the constitution, because the government is the custodian of this particular constitution, should actually be able to maintain and enforce such constitution over and above any other person, because the constitution should be supreme. So I think all preparations, as well as what we are seeing on the ground, are actually in tandem with Nigerian structure.
Okay, fine, good enough. And earlier on, I listened to CP Frankenbach talk about the police and the security agencies having garnered some experience, and they have now become better at activities like this. How so?
Yeah, Cyril, that's a fact, and I can actually elaborate further on our experiences policing democratic processes. If you come to the force headquarters, before every election, at the end of every election, what we do is we also, before every election, we carry out a threat analysis, a security threat analysis, and that's when you identify all those potential threats, even sometimes the latent threats. You draw up all kind of hypotheses, draw up all kind of scenarios, and then you begin to think out of how to deal with those scenarios if any of them should play out. And then we go through an election cycle, and then we return back to the force headquarters and we do what we call a post-mortem.
Right.
And then here again, we try to look at what are the things we did right. What are the areas we excelled? We identify those areas we excel. We consolidate them into what we call best practices. We compare them with what we also know as international best practices. If they're in line, then we consolidate them. We pull them aside. We identify the areas where we did badly or where we didn't measure up to our own expectation or up to the expectation of our citizens or the expectations of our international partners. And then we try to see how we can work on it. But beyond these experiences we've garnered locally, the Nigerian police force, through its peacekeeping departments, also have robust experiences policing post-conflict electoral processes, post-conflict election processes in countries like Cambodia, countries like Namibia, countries like Angola, countries like Liberia, countries like Sierra Leone, countries like Cote d'Ivoire. We played major and active roles, including East Timor, Kosovo, and the rest of them. We played major roles and in the election processes that came immediately after the conflict in those areas, when those countries were still charged, when some of those threats were still manifest, but we played lead roles in those countries. Those experiences garnered policing these post-conflict electoral processes in these various countries spread across various continents of the world are also part of that huge experience bag that we dip our hands into whenever we're faced with this kind of situation. So these are all the things that you see playing, coming to play out in this election. But I think most importantly is the fact that in this election, we did not just concentrate on core law enforcement approaches. We also were very engaging. We reached out to the civil society groups. We reached out to youth leaders. We reached out to religious leaders. We reached out to presidents of president generals of the different autonomous communities in Anambra State. We reached out to so many of the stakeholders. We reach out to the media, and we're very, very, very engaging. And these all are part of the tools we deployed. And I think, to the glory of God, things are working well. We are cautiously optimistic that at the end of the day, it will end in praises, it will end in thanksgiving, it will end in smiles.
All right. We'll take it that way, and hope that the process can only get better as we go on. But we do still have a number of reports. The next one we'll be taking a look at is an update on INEC, and this one is by our correspondent Chukwunonso Mwaboeze.
We have an Assistant Inspector General of Police who is here to also take a look at how the security situation is. AIG Umar, what do you see on ground that you have been able to come and see for yourself? What is happening?
Well, I can say without missing with that things are moving. And as far as I'm concerned, things are moving smoothly.
Okay, you've also been in the field. You're alternating field here and also here in INEC headquarters. What's your assessment of what's happening on the ground polling units?
Well, generally, the election is going on peacefully, and I don't think there's any cause for alarm.
Thank you very much. All right, we are still here at INEC headquarters. We'll bring you up to speed on events as it unfolds here. It's back to you, studio.
Please, I have an interview.
All right, our correspondent there updating you, and as we go on, then there's this other matter which we might want to talk about as we look at what's played out in Anambra State, and this has bearing not just on the state elections, it has bearing on the nature of politics, participation in politics generally across board in Nigeria, and that's talking about women's participation. You are the political scientists. Are we doing well enough? I mean, look at the statistics, for instance. If we were to use Anambra as an example, 18 candidates here, and there isn't a single woman except for some running mates. And when are we going to start seeing key participation of women in politics, and not just as treasurers, women leaders and things like that, but core leaders of the political structure like chairmen, governors, etc.
Yeah. You see, Cyril, women are very important in the political journey, you know, of every independent entity and even nations. Why? Because if you look at the, you know, the biological as well as psychological structuration of women, women are caregivers. Caregivers in the sense that they care, you know, about their children, they care about the husband, they care about visitors, and every other person who will actually come into the family. And they provide such hospitality in terms of feeding, where to sleep. In fact, there are two things that if you own, if one between these two things, if you have one, you possess a great power. One, the cradle, you know. In fact, not even two, three things. The womb, which the woman conceives a baby. The cradle in which you put the baby to sleep. And the kitchen, which feeds the baby and the family. That to have one of these is having a great power. Then what about if you possess all these particular three things? And that is why the argument that if women are to govern, we're going to have more peaceful and sustainable societies. But again, history has shown that women have been marginalized, segregated, and women have been pushed into the pedal bin. Why? Because United States of America did not recognize the right of women to suffrage until in the 18th century. What about Great Britain since 17th century? Then the late country in Europe was Greece, which Greece, in ancient Greek city-state, women were not given the right to inheritance, right to own property, you know, and other rights. But these societies in Europe, the pedigree of democracy began to provide such rights, you know, to women. We've seen so many important positions given to women, you know, in Europe. I don't need to mention countries as Germany and other places. And most importantly, there will have been an outbreak of a third world war, if not because of a woman. Why? Because, Cyril, the issue of the invasion of, Eastern Ukraine and Donetsk, by Russia, the European Union, using NATO, had started mobilizing deployment. And then Russia was also about to start doing that around the Black Sea. What happened? It will have been a great outbreak. It was only Angela Merkel of Germany who flew and met with Putin and other European stakeholders. And she mediated, on that. That had actually stopped the damage and casualties that would have actually been experienced by now. Remember the First World War, more than 40 million, 21 million deaths, 20 million casualties, 80 to 85 million during the Second World War. What will have been if not because of women's leadership in the world? So we have a kind of tradition in the sense that women are to take care of the other room. You understand? So this particular mentality, an idea which is being upheld by so many traditions in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia, in Oceania, Eurasia, and many other regions of the world, deter women participation into politics, not only until the emergence of this contemporary feminist movement. Even the feminists, not the radical feminists, at least the liberal feminists, who believe that women should also be given a chance to govern. And now we are beginning in Africa, we are seeing Rwanda playing a significant role in the parliamentary representation. So I think if we have women, because women give birth to children, the soldiers, the nurses, the doctors, all these particular men, what we see in Anambra, the deployment of 54 or more than 54,000 security personnel, all of them have been given birth to by women. So a woman doesn't want her child goes to war. So if we have women, at the helms of leadership, they will better maintain peace, stability, and bring about development. Because if they become corrupt, they and their children will be the victims of corruption. So I think it is high time we begin to have...
Well, I'm sure that as the political class begins to understand and appreciate the role and place of women in politics generally, other segments of society would do well to take that up. Indeed, the security agencies themselves have recognize this, and today we see more women in positions in the security agencies. I'm sure that as part of the deployment for Anambra, CP Franco, at least number of...
Cyril, I think for us, first of all, let me also make a little bit of intervention here before I vein into the policing gender policy. For Anambra State, I agree with Prof entirely that women, the culture, the subculture, and the history and tradition in so many societies have had a way of pushing women down on the peg of things, particularly when it comes to politics, power, and even economics. So there's deliberate, in some places, there are deliberate policy of economic and even political exclusion of women. But to a large extent, Anambra has done well in this regard. And so today, unlike so many states of the Federation, when you look at the political landscape of Anambra State, you can easily talk of some female politicians that have done very well, that have stood their ground against the men. People like distinguished Senator Kunife, who have risen through the political ladder. I think she was a one-time local government chairperson, went to the House of Assembly in the state, went to the House of Rep, and currently she's sitting in the Senate. And in all those elections, she consistently defeated other male candidates who contested with us. So Senator Kunife has done excellently well. You also have the likes of Senator Stella Odua, our sister, late Dora Kunyili, also distinguished herself, and so many other women. Etiaba was a former deputy governor. Functioned as the governor briefly, and so in Anambra, the women, they've tried. They are doing very well, but there are still room for improvement. Unfortunately, in power, is like one of those familiar quotes within the Christendom, where they say the kingdom of God suffered violence, and the violent taketh it by force. Literally interpreted to mean that you need to go for something, you need to fight for it. But beyond that, there should also be deliberate affirmative policies that could help women to overcome some of those hurdles. In the Nigerian police force, it is that deliberate affirmative policy that led to the creation of a gender desk. Today, we have an office of a gender advisor to the Inspector General of Police, who specifically advises the IG and comes up with policies that are designed to help to actually balance create some level of parity between the women and the men. Today, we have a female commissioner of police, who is not just wearing the commissioner of police rank. She's actually a commissioner of police in one of the most toughest states in Nigeria, in Oyo State. For instance, Oyo State is manned by a female commissioner, and she is doing excellently well. CP Ngozi Onadeko, she's doing very, very well. In Anambra State's election deployment, we have a full female unit of PMF, all women, and they are on ground. They are arm-bearing young female police officers. They are on ground to take up any issues. The advantage of having female police officers in operations like the Anambra election is, again, like the prof have said, they bring in their feminine love to bear. They bring in their feminine care to bear in the course of discharging their responsibility. Part of our deployment strategy in Anambra State is also include our force medical team. And a lot of those, a lot of our nurses are female nurses, and they're on ground. They are there to render first aid. They are there to take care of persons who might suddenly take ill. And they're not just taking care of police officers. They're there to take care of every other person, including the citizens of Anambra State. So we have sufficient female police officers on ground. And they will be bringing that innate kindness associated with the womanhood to bear in the course of the discharge of their responsibilities.
All right, our coverage of Anambra this side still continues. I do know that our correspondents are all over there, and they're quite ready to bring us updates as things unfold. We also do have reports here which we'll be taking as time goes on, and this will all complement the discussions. And we are committed to bringing you all angles of what is happening in Anambra as the people decide. Now, Prof, back to you. Anambra should be one of those places where we would take the experience, would earn what we can from what has happened in Anambra, along with other places where we've seen what is now referred to as off-season elections. And this presumably will put Nigeria in better stead to conduct exercises such as this in the future, and maybe, hopefully, have a large bearing on the general elections.
That's correct. Previous elections, such as the Edo gubernatorial election, and lessons have been learned in that particular elections. And looking at Looking at Anambra State, you know, as a specific case, you come to understand that Anambra has a difference, you know, compared with other states. Why? Because Anambra State is actually being governed, the only state being governed by, not by the ruling party, you know, the national ruling party per se, and not also having the largest opposition party, you know, as opponent. Because in a number of states, we see the governor is not from the ruling party, not from the APC, and not even from the PDP. Then apart from this, you come to understand that.
Yeah, just I'm just been notified that correspondent Ekene Ndulue is up and ready in Oka to give us further updates. So I believe at this point in time we'll link up with Ekene. Hello, Ekene. I guess so far we've reflected the situation on the ground in Anambra State. If you can hear me, what further updates do you have for us? What can you tell us?
What I can tell you now is that, okay, let me start from where I am. I'm in Boys Secondary School, Oga, and this place has 3 polling units. You know, earlier when we, in the morning, when the presiding officers briefed the party agents, they talked about giving preferential treatments to some classes of people, like people with disabilities, the elderly, and heavily pregnant women. And I can see somebody with a person with disability here that has come to cast his vote. I do not know the situation. Okay, good afternoon, sir. Can you talk to us?
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, we were told that preferential treatments will be given to persons with disabilities. Can you turn?
I'm just arriving to the polling unit right now, and I'm about to start doing my accreditation.
Okay.
They are about to attend to me now.
Okay, they are about to attend to you.
Yes.
Okay, presiding officer, would like you to speak to us. How has the process
presiding officer is coming.
Okay, we'll also talk with the presiding officer in this particular polling unit to tell us about this. Okay, good afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, please tell us your name.
My name is Copper Jeff Azawi.
Okay, we were told that people with disabilities, heavily pregnant women, and elderly people will be given preferential treatments during voting.
Yes, we are ensuring our best to do that. We have done justice before you people have arrived, because we have attended to the elderly men and the pregnant women. Although I'm not in contact with a disability, somebody that is a disabled person, though I have done that. And the elderly people, the ones that are also coming late, I'm making sure to attend to them before, if any other people that were even on the line before them, they have arrived.
Okay, in some places we visited earlier, the bimodal voters accreditation system, they were having issues with people doing the accreditation and voting. How is it going here?
Yes, by bimodal voters card we have here also is giving me the same similar problem that others are encountering. I have, since morning, I'm just able to attend to less than 50 persons in this unit, and I have to attend to 717 persons that are registered from this polling unit. But I don't know, but I'm trying my best, most especially where the aspect I'm having challenges, that tumbling. In some time, by trying to take the picture, maybe 1 or 3 persons that is try and elo, one we accept or successfully accredited. That is the system where I'm just managing it up to this time around.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we've heard from the presiding officer on how the system is, how it's going on in this particular polling unit. And we know that we have more registered voters for this 2021 election. In 2017, 4 years ago, we had about 2.2 million people registered for the Anambra governorship election. And in this particular election, we have about 2.5 million people registered. So we should expect that the processes will be seamless for more people to actually cast their ballots. We'll also speak with some other voters who have come to cast their ballots to know their experience. Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please tell us your name.
My name is Ndubiso Chog.
Okay, you've been there for some time. Have you been able to cast your vote?
Yes, I did.
Okay, how was it?
It's very okay.
Okay, tell us the situation around here, generally, security, orderliness.
Okay, although so far there's no any problem here, and we thank God everything is going fine. There's no problem for now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, from my own observations as well, there is order in this place. Even though they are having problem with the Beavers casting their votes, they are still patient that the whole thing will be sorted out. There has been no issue of security breach so far. Everything is moving on smoothly, apart from the accreditation and voting caused by the Beavers.
Again, so far you said things have been moving on, except for the glitches that we've had. That's with equipment. But I suppose you have been able to, beyond speaking with the presiding officer, these challenges have been communicated to his own supervisors. Would you know about that, and how far his supervisors are responding to the challenges he might have?
Now, I've visited some other polling units where they had similar problems. I've not been able to go back to those places, but I will do so. I don't know if they've been able to resolve the issues, but the presiding officers I spoke to communicated with their supervisors and told me that they were coming to respond to the issues. I'll still find out how the responses have been, if they've been able to sort out the glitches they had in the morning.
Okay, so we do expect that when you have that information, we'll be checking in with you again to get more updates, and particularly how these incidents, these glitches are being addressed, so as to give the people more confidence in the system, and so we can learn how to make technology better serve the purpose for which it's been deployed. So. Thank you, Akene. We're looking on you again and get more updates. Thank you. All right. All right, back here in the studio, there are one or two issues which our correspondent raised there. Would like to go to them, but however, I'd still want to put you on hold, Prof, for a while. There's also the matter you were commenting on before we went to Ekene there. That also will put on hold for a bit. Let's quickly go back to Commissioner of Police Frank Anambra. His phone has been ringing almost per second. It's a very busy period for you. We understand that, and we do appreciate that you found time to be with us here. I know others are calling as well. But before we just say goodbye to you to attend to other matters regarding Anambra decides, let us look beyond just the state election that's taking place, the deployment of resources. Now, some people appreciate that, but the thinking is, well, it's just one state. We can afford to do these deployments and make everything look like picture perfect. What of when it comes to the larger picture, where we're having like 20 elections, bigger elections, and on the national scene, can we be so meticulous and have the resources to deploy at that level?
Again, this question has been coming up again and again from eggheads like you. The truth is, before the next general election, all things being equal, would have added close to 30,000 police officers to our strength. For example, currently there is an ongoing recruitment which is meant to be for the 2020 recruitment, and having the Inspector General of Police, IGP Usman Al-Khalibaba, having been able to bring in a new fresh of relationship between the NPF and the PSC, the Police Service Commission. There is a joint recruitment process is going on now. So we are completing the recruitment of 10,000 constables for 2020. And as soon as that recruitment is completed, we'll go in to start the 2021 recruitment for another 10,000. And after that, we'll probably do another 10,000 for 2022. So hopefully by 2023, we would have added 30,000 police constables to our strength. Apart from that, in all general elections, we don't go all hog alone. We don't go it all alone. We will be making effective use of our partnership with the civil defense, the migrations, the customs, the road safety, the NDLE, and every other agencies, including the DSS. The military will also be on the wings to deal with probably the incidents that might occur in the outer perimeters of the election, of the security cordon system. So by the time we put all these resources together, we will be able to deal with the challenges of a general election. And like I said at the beginning of our conversation, we have already developed a working template which we used in all the previous elections. And rather than these templates be deteriorating, we have continued to improve on them. So 2023 general election, we see an improved and better outing by the Nigerian police force, working with its partners within the law enforcement, the security and intelligence communities. We Nigerians will have anything to worry about. And like I've also said in my previous analysis, the challenge with all cycle election is the fact that there are too many loose hands from all other states of the federation that are ready to move into that state. In a general election, everybody will be in his own constituency, trying to protect his constituency, trying to deliver his word, deliver his local government, and you won't even have time. The best you can do is to speak to your political associate on the phone and ask, how is it coming up in your area? You won't be able to move out of your area to go and try to actually render any form of assistance. You won't see governors flying out of their states like it happened in Edo, for example. You won't see governors flying into the state. No, you won't see that happen. Everybody will be in his own state trying to deliver and win elections for himself, for his candidates, and for his party. So, Nigerians will have nothing to fear. We've done it before. We'll do it again, and we do it again, and we do it even better.
All right. Thank you very much, Commissioner of Police Frank Anambra, First Public Relations Officer, for your time with us. And we can say goodbyes and wish you well as you continue to police what is going on in Anambra. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Right. We wish Anambra people a very peaceful elections.
Okay, at this point in time, we have our correspondent, Mie Ogidi, who is in Alo in Idemili South local government area of Anambra State. And we're going straight to Mie Ogidi. Mie, what can you tell us? What's happening?
Thank you, Cyril. We are here at Alo 1 in the Idemili South local government area of Anambra State, as you rightly said. And the polling unit is Enko 10 and 11. They are two side by side there. And the voters, number of registered voters between 300 and 400 in each of the polling units. And you can see from the expression and from the way the people are, the voters are, they are really ready for this election. Some of them, they have voted, but sitting back to make sure that their votes are protected. But just a slight, the issue here is Beavers is really not behaving well. Before I came on air, I had a one-on-one with the officer, the INEC officer here, which I said is delaying somewhat, and then they have called their technicians to come and fix it. And when you look at behind me, you can see elderly men and women, youths. They are here, and they are even willing to talk to you. Chief, you're on red cap. You must be a title holder.
Yes, of course.
Nigerians want to hear from you.
Okay.
A lot of apprehension, fears, issues of insecurity and all that. But thank God we are here.
Yes.
The day is still counting. So what will you tell Nigerians? You have just voted.
As far as I'm concerned, in this our community, Allah is a very peaceful community. We don't fear anything. So you can see that everybody is here trying to, do the franchise. Nobody wants to be disenfranchised. So we are doing our thing. I've just done my own. So no fear at all. We don't fear anything.
Okay, that's it. Let me ask, how was the process? In terms of, we have a new machine here, they call the Beavers, data capture and everything. How was the experience?
Yeah, fortunately for me, everything went smooth. But there are some people who are complaining. So one man's meat is another man's poison. Some people are lucky.
The meat is on the side of the soup.
Yes. So I'll count myself to be lucky that no hitches.
And probably who you voted for will even win.
Of course, I know you win.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
well done.
Let me also talk to another chief. I mean you, sir. 1 minute. I don't know how your experience was like during the voting dimension. What was your experience?
I happened to be the first person to vote in my booth, 008. It was successful. The only thing that they came late. They didn't land here around 8. They came 9 a.m. thereabout. And they took some time to set up the apparatus they are using. So I think I actually voted around 11:30 a.m. That's the only problem. 006 did not start with others because it has some hitches which they have rectified. But for that, everywhere is okay.
Okay, in terms of security situation, the police, and how do you see the presence?
Yes, we have a lot of police presence here. Here is safe. Here is secured. That's no problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir, another chief, let me briefly talk to you. How was the experience like when you voted?
It's very nice. Things are going very well. And voting is going very well also. The only obstacle we get is this. The workers did not come at the actual time, 8:30. They came 11 o'clock or after 11. That was, but however, things are going normal. Very peaceful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cyril, the process is still going on, as you rightly heard from one of the red cap chiefs. His case was different. Beavers really behaved well in his case, though some have 1 or 2 issues complained. And let me also tell you that this is the polling unit of the Honorable Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige. We have not seen him. I know he's around, but we have not seen him. But when we met from now, I think we'll be around. And this Indemili South is one of the most populated local governments in terms of voters. If my memory can serve me right, Indemili South has overall about 222,000 voters. So who wins this local government, Indemili South and Indemili North, Onitsha South, Onitsha North, will really have a high number of the votes. But I think we will rejoin you. We will still be watching any moment from now. We'll go and do some checks behind the scene to see whether the machines are really working well, the technicians are around, and we may likely even get other voters to talk to. Thank you.
Let's stay with you for a while longer. I know this has been discussed earlier on and attention has been drawn to it, but let me again put this to you. It would seem that we're having more of the senior citizens turning out. Are you seeing any change in, in the demographics? For now, we've seen more of the senior citizens. So where are those young people, those young men and women? Is there a change? Are we seeing them now across?
Sorry.
All right. Mia, if you can hear me, I was just trying to find out if you've seen any change. I know that people have been turning up, but we've seen mostly senior citizens, as I like to call them. So we're wondering what's happening to those youths, young men and women who we haven't seen much of on camera speaking on the participation in this exercise.
Because we talked to really the senior citizens, the youth. Young man, please 1 minute. Let me talk to you. I think you just voted, right?
No, I never voted.
Okay, but how do you see the process so far?
It's good.
Look at the camera, please.
No, me.
Similar is the attitude of some youths. You can see they won't talk, and if you don't give them the opportunity, they think you are not fair. But that is just a classic example. We have even invited 1 or 2 ladies, they refused. But the senior citizens, as we call them, they have seen it all probably, so they are very brave to face the camera.
Some of them will be camera shy, just as we saw the other young man who didn't want to speak to us. But anyhow, Mia, we'll still check in with you, and we'll come back to you later on to get more updates. And so keep looking out. You did mention that Labour and Employment Minister Chris Ngige has not been seen, but that is his polling booth. So it's possible you'll get to see him, and when you do, we would like to speak to him and find out 1 or 2 more issues on how Anambra decides is going. So thank you, Mia. We're looking later on. Thanks. Discussions, we drew attention to women's participation in the electoral process, in governance positions. We also had CP Frankenbat talk to us about women in the security agencies, particularly in the Nigeria Police Force, the deployment of female officers to Anambra, the deployment of female officers to key positions, key stages of policing in Nigeria. Well, I'd like to say the Nigerian media is out there miles and miles ahead in front in the question of empowerment of the female gender, and particularly the NTA. It's been commended time and time again over its very, very wonderful gender balance, and it's not a surprise that even as we broadcast on this occasion, there's a very good representation of all genders on NTA, as is with all NTA programs. So at this point, let me introduce my colleague, Henry John, who has joined us on Anambra Decides. Henry.
Thank you very much, sir. I guess I must add that.
No, you don't have to add that. It's Cyril, remember? Good. Okay, good to have you join us on this discussion.
Same here,
Right.
Cyril. I've been watching, developments in Anambra, and like you mentioned, talking about women participation, which is, very dear to my heart, because I'm a woman. Yes, so of course you expect me to want to look at that particular issue. You mentioned earlier that the fact that we have all men, vying for the governorship position, and just about 7 women, for deputy positions, governorship positions in the political parties. For me, it is still very low, if you like. I think women are still inactive, if I want to use that word, and it's not good enough.
All right. Okay, so as we go on, we'll be part of this process, and Prof is still here with us, and just before we went to Oka and then to Idemili, and we signed off the Commissioner of Police, we were looking at 1 or 2 things that I recall. I stopped you at a point where we were discussing what we are taking from exercises like Anambra to use in the larger picture as we prepare for bigger, more elections, and take on, elections on more areas than just one state. So,
yes, before I venture into that particular area of having to replicate whatever that is obtainable from Anambra to 2023, general elections, from the, reports we actually received, looking at the demography, of the electorate, actually coming to the polling unit to exercise their franchise, you discover that the issue of age matters. The issue of age in the sense that this particular election has been threatened, earlier on, before now. And those who obviously come out to cast their vote, are people of age, those whom you tag to be senior citizens. And why is it so? These are people who have experienced yesterday. They knew about the political happenings of yesterday, and they also try to make change now. And that is why those who try to stop this particular election, imposing sit at home, are people who have not experienced yesterday. Then this part there is also level of income. The level of income also determines the number of registered voters. That is in consonance with the the voting age, population. So if you look at, for example, the disintegration of the Soviet Union, had increased the number of people to vote in democracies around the world. So also the issue of the Arab Spring. But what we are seeing now is that the level of income which determines, people to come out to vote. You see that all the people you see here are people either of the low income earning or even the middle income earners. Those who earn higher, you hardly see them come out, by developing the political apathy or silently supporting their own candidate. But the most important thing here is that they are actually in their homes drinking tea, watching the TV, what is happening, and looking at coming out, to be under the sun to vote. Sometimes they see it as a waste of time or, something that disfavors them. So coming down to replication of the Anambra elections, I think what is fundamental there is for lessons to be learned. From the Anambra elections, what are we going to change? What are we going to actually modify, from these particular experiences? Frank Mba.
Yes, okay. At this point again, sorry, I keep cutting in, but at this point we're going back to Idemili South Local Government to link up again with Mia Ugidi. I think right now he wants to update us. Mia, we're back with you. Right. As we see from the pictures we're watching right now on your screen, Labour and Employment Minister Chris Ngige is just about voting. He's shown up now to be part of the process. A short while ago when I spoke with Mia, he did say that this was the minister's polling booth, and at any moment they were expecting he would come and exercise his franchise. So that's what he's doing now, and he's been attended to. He's going through the process just the same way all the voters go through the process before they get to vote. So this is Anambra Decides, and here Dr. Chris Ngige, at this point, he's just another member of the electorate, a voter. No paraphernalia of office. The man is there to cast his ballot. All right, later on we'll link up again with Mia. Hopefully, yeah, okay, Mia, right. Mia, right, we just saw the minister. You had prompted us that he would be voting in that place, and we just saw him do exactly that. Mia, it's back to you. Hopefully you'd get him on and get him to answer a few questions.
taking his facials. From here, they will go and authenticate the card, and then he will cast the ballot. And we pray it works. Okay. Okay. Just you don't have to go there. I'm still talking about it. Apart from the minister, there are other voters who are also doing their accreditation at the other polling center. Cyril, I earlier told you that we have 2 polling units in this area, and the minister is voting at Alo 1 in the Indemile South local government area of Anambra State, polling unit 00010, that is 10. And other voters are also doing theirs at 011, that is Alo 1 in Kuo Ede ward in. And Cyril may also want to hear a word from Nnamdi Odipo, who is also in the team. So Nnamdi, let's hear from you.
Yeah, well, Cyril, it's been a very progressive exercise. Of course, you know, we've been quite mobile. We moved from the Anyocha axis of the state towards these axes of the state, Idemili South. Of course, there's also adjoining Idemili North, which is the local government with the most registered number of voters in the state. And back here, of course, you're seeing that the minister is getting set to cast his ballot. He's going through just one phase of this exercise. Mia already explained all of that. He's not the only one here, of course. There are hundreds, I dare say, of voters, registered eligible voters that will be participating in the elections within these polling units. Quite a number of them are middle-aged and aged as well. I've seen quite an impressive turnout of young persons as well. You made allusions to that earlier in your conversation with Mia. I can tell you, I can confirm that there are quite a number of young persons out here. I do not know if they are newly registered voters, but I see that there are young persons, young adults who are also here waiting to be part of this process. Cyril.
Okay, Cyril, that is from Nnamdi Odipo, and the minister is still doing the Beavers, the 3 stages, facials, then thereafter authentication of the card, then we vote. And let me tell you that the Beavers is not just taking the facials, also authenticate the card, and from that to also take picture of the results at this spot and upload it straight to the INEC portal, which is inecelectionresult.com.
Well, Cyril, part of what we talked about earlier was some of the technical issues that we've noticed across the state when it comes to the authentication by the biometrics voters accreditation system device. You would have noticed that it will seem that the minister is having the same issue that we've talked about time and again. It's taking quite a bit for them, for the ad hoc staff, the accreditation officer, to get that done. That's because the minister's card, I dare say, or the BVAX is having issues capping and registering the Honorable Minister's facials, which of course would allow him to participate in this exercise.
Okay, as We've been told by Anambra they are still trying to see another trial after some cleanup exercises, as it were, on the screen. And you know, these Beavers, I was among those that did the pilot. One, you have to just keep your normal face. Then the second one, you have to put some smile on your face. All these processes, and I think the minister is right now on the second phase, is putting on some smiles. So it's not that he's just smiling, but that is part of the requirement for the Beavers. You have to smile and you have to just keep normal face. And initially it came with eyeglasses, but Beavers, we were told by the INEC chairman that can even detect your fragrance, your perfume, but probably because of the the glasses he was wearing, he didn't recognize him, so he has to remove it. The face mask has to be removed. And
apparently still having issues with that, and they're having to change the minister's location to somewhere else to see if it will be possible to capture the minister's biometrics. Well, like we did say, we're in Alo, Idemili South, and it's been quite an impressive and progressive exercise. We do hope that the calm which we have noticed in parts of the states would carry, and so that people would continue to come out. We have quite we have people who are still in queue, quite a number of people still in queue waiting to be part of this process. The rule says that for everyone who made it to the queue well before 2 p.m. when that is the slated time, for official slated time for the polls to close. Well, if you get to the line before then, you will still be allowed to be part of the process. That's the standing rule, and that is what would happen today if it does happen that way. But of course, there's still some time until that time, and from not just a lawyer, but from other places that we've been to, we noticed that yes, there are still people on the queue waiting to be part of the process. We're hoping that before then, a significant number of registered voters, eligible voters who have come out to be part of this exercise would, have some patience and wait and eventually be part of the process. We're hoping to get some reports from other parts of the state, Cyril, and just as we get them, we will be coming to you with more updates. But while we're here, let's hope that the accreditation, biometrics accreditation of the minister would be done with and done quickly, so that we can have him cast his vote, and would also like to talk to him. Of course, we would wait a bit and see if we can get his reaction to these experiences just had, and get his perception of some of these technical challenges. Cyril, it's been, like I said, a peaceful day. It's sunny in parts of Oka and its environment, and other parts of the states where we've been to. We early hours of today, we did experience some showers of rain, and of course that would seem to be a harbinger of what is to come, because we've had a significantly calm, significantly peaceful exercise. Cyril.
This is what I've been trying to put across to you all along. That is just two quick issues, if you can still hear me. That's one of them is, on the average, when there are no hitches and the accreditation goes on smoothly, how long will that process take on the average where there are no hitches? That's one. And secondly, in a case like one that's happening right now, that there are some hitches, what happens if at the end
solve the issue of